The Lord appears to Solomon. Chapter 9. When Solomon had finished building the temple of the Lord, had the royal rest, and had achieved all he had desired to do, the Lord appeared to him a second time, as he had appeared to him at Gibeon. The Lord said to him, I have heard the prayer and plea you have made before me. I have consecrated this temple and which you have built by putting my name there forever. My eyes and my heart will always be there. As for you, if you walk before me peacefully with integrity of heart and uprightness as David, your father did, and do all I command and observe my decrees and laws, I will establish your royal throne over Israel forever, as I promised David your father when I said, you shall never fail to have a successor on the throne of Israel. But if you or your descendants turn away from me and do not observe the commands and decrees I have given you, and go up to serve other gods and worship them, then I will cut off Israel from the land I have given them, and will reject this temple I have consecrated for my name. Israel will then become a byword and an object of ridicule among all peoples. This temple will become a heap of rubble. All who pass by will be appalled and will scoff and say, why has the Lord done such a thing to this land and to this temple? People will answer, because they have forsaken the Lord their God, who brought their ancestors out of Egypt, and have embraced other gods, worshipping and serving them. That is why the Lord brought all this disaster on them. Solomon's other activities at the end of 20 years, during which Solomon built these two buildings, the temple of the Lord and the royal palace. King Solomon gave 20 towns in Galilee to Hiram, king of Tyre, because Hiram had supplied him with all the cedar and the juniper and gold he wanted. But when Hiram went from Tyre to see the towns that Solomon had given him, he was not pleased with them. What kind of towns are these you have given me, my brother? He asked, and he called them the land of Gabor, a name they have to this day. Now Hiram had said to the king, 120 talents of gold. Here is the account of the forced labor King Solomon consecrated to build the Lord's temple, his own palaces, the terraces, the wall of Jerusalem, and Hazor, Megiddo, and Gezer. Pharaoh, king of Egypt, had attacked and captured Gezer. He had set it on fire. He killed its Canadians, inhabitants, and then gave it as a wedding gift to his daughter, Solomon's wife. And Solomon rebuilt Gezer. He built the lower Beth Horon, Phalas, and Tamor in the desert within his land, as well as all his store cities and the towns for his chariot and for his horse. Whatever he desired to build in Jerusalem, in Lebanon, and throughout all the territory he ruled. There were still people left from the Amorites, Hittites, Perizzites, Hivites, and Yebusites. These people were not Israelites. Solomon consecrated the descendants of all these people remaining in the land, whom the Israelites could not exterminate them, to serve as slave labor as it is to this day. But Solomon did not make slaves of any of the Israelites. They were his fighting men, his government officials, his captains, and the commanders of his chariot and charioteers. They were also the chief official in charge of Solomon's project. 50-50 officials supervising those who did the work. After Pharaoh's throat had come up from the city of David to the palace Solomon had built for her, he constructed the terrace. 3 times a year, Solomon sacrificed burnt offering and fellowship offering on the altar he had built for the Lord, burning ice and incense before the Lord along with them, and so fulfilled the temple obligation. King Solomon also built ships at Ezion Geber, which is near Elas in Edom, on the shore of the Red Sea, and Hiram sent his men, sailors who knew the sea, to serve in the fleet with Solomon's men. They sailed to Ophius and brought back 420 talents of gold, which they delivered to King Solomon. Uh, chapter 10, First Kings chapter 10. The king of Sheba visited Solomon. Chapter 10. When the king of Sheba heard about the fame of Solomon and his relationship to the Lord, she came to test Solomon with hard questions. Arrived at Jerusalem with a very great caravan with camel carrying pieces, large quantities of gold and precious stone. She came to Solomon and talked with him about all that she had on her mind. Solomon answered all her questions. Nothing was too hard for the king to explain to her. When the king of Sheba saw all the wisdom of Solomon and the palace he had built, the food on his table, the seating of his officials, the attending servant in the rows, his cupbearers, and the burnt offering he made at the temple of the Lord, she was overwhelmed. She said to the king, "The report I heard in my own country about your achievement and your wisdom is true, but I did not believe these things until I came and saw with my own eyes. Indeed, not even half was told me. In wisdom and wealth, you have far exceeded the report I heard. How happy your people must be, how happy your officials, who continually stand before you and hear your wisdom. Praise be to the Lord your God, who has delighted in you and placed you on the throne of Israel. Because of the Lord's eternal love for Israel, he has made you king to maintain justice and righteousness. And seek the king 120 talents of gold, large quantities of species, and precious stones. Never again were so many species brought in as those the king of Sheba gave to the king Solomon. 11 Hiram's ships brought gold from Ophir, and from there they brought great cargoes of almug wood and precious stone. The king used the almug to make suppers for the temple of the Lord and for the royal places, and to make harps and lyres for the musicians. So much almug wood has never been imported or seen since that day. King Solomon gave the king of Sheba all he desired and asked for, besides what he had given her out of his royal bounty. Then she left and returned with her retinue to her own country. Solomon's splendor, the weight of the gold that Solomon received yearly was 66 talents, not including the revenues from merchants and traders and from all the Arabian kings and the governors of the territories. King Solomon made 200 large shields of hammered gold, 600 shekels of gold went into each shield. He also made 300 small shields of hammered gold with 3 minas of gold in each shield. The king put them in the palace of the forest of Lebanon. Then the king made a great throne covered with ivory and overlaid with pine gold. The throne had 6 steps, and each back had a rounded top. On both sides of the sea were armrests with a lion standing beside each of them. 12 lions stood on the 6 steps, one at either end of each step. Nothing like it had ever been made for any other kingdom. All King Solomon's goblets were gold, and all the household articles in the palace of the forest of Lebanon were pure gold. Nothing was made of silver, because silver was considered of little value in Solomon's day. The king had a fleet of trading ships at sea along with the ship of Hiram. Once every 3 years, it returned carrying gold, silver, and ivory, and apes and baboons. King Solomon was great in riches and wisdom than all the other kings of the earth. The whole world sought audience with Solomon to hear the wisdom God had put in his heart. Year after year, everyone who came brought a gift article of silver and gold, robes, weapons, and spices, and horses and bulls. Solomon accumulated chariot and horse. He had 1,400 chariot and 12,000 horse, which he kept in the chariot cities and also within him in Jerusalem. The king made silver as common in Jerusalem as stones, and cedar as plentiful as the sycamore fig tree in the foothills. Solomon's horses were imported from Egypt and from Q. The royal merchant purchased them from Q at the current price. They imported a chariot from Egypt for 600 shekels of silver and a horse for 150. They also exported them to all the kings of the Hittite and of the Arameans. 11. Solomon's wives, chapter 11. King Solomon, however, loved many foreign women besides Pharaoh's daughter Moabites, Ammonites, Edomites, Sidonians, and Hittites. They were from nations about which the Lord had told the Israelites, You must not intermarry with them, because they will surely turn your heart after their gods. Nevertheless, Solomon had passed to them in love. He had 700 wives of royal birth and 300 concubines, and his wives led him astray. As Solomon grew old, his wives turned his heart after other gods, and his heart was not fully devoted to the Lord his God, as the heart of David his father had been. He followed Astros, the goddess of the Sidonians, and Molech, the detestable god of the Ammonites. So Solomon did evil in the eyes of the Lord. He did not follow the Lord completely, as David his father had done. On a hill east of Jerusalem, Solomon built a high place for Chemosh, the detestable god of Moab, and for Molech, the detestable god of the Ammonites. He did the same for all his foreign wives, who burned incense and offered sacrifice to their gods. The Lord became angry with Solomon because his heart had turned away from the Lord, the God of Israel, who had appeared to him twice. And although he had forbidden Solomon to follow other gods, Solomon did not keep the Lord's commands. So the Lord said to Solomon, Since this is your attitude, and you have not kept my covenant and my decrees, which I command you, I will most certainly tear the kingdom away from you and give it to one of your subordinates. Nevertheless, for the sake of David your father, I will not do it during your lifetime. I will tear it out of the hand of your son. Yet I will not tear the whole kingdom from him, but will give him one tribe for the sake of David my servant, and for the sake of Jerusalem, which I have chosen. Solomon's adversaries. Then the Lord raised up against Solomon on adversaries Hadad the Edomite from the royal line of Edom. Earlier, when David was fighting with Edom, Joab, the commander of the army, who had gone up to bury the dead, had struck down all the men in Edom. Joab and all the Israelites stayed there for 6 months until they had destroyed all the men in Edom. But Hadad, still only a boy, fled to Egypt with some Edomite officials who had served his father. They set out from Midian and went to Paran. Then, taking people from Paran with them, they went to Egypt, to Pharaoh, king of Egypt, who gave Hadad a house and land and provided him with food. Pharaoh was so pleased with Hadad that he gave him a sister of his own wife, Queen Tahpenes, in marriage. The sister of Tahpenes bore him a son named Genevas, whom Tahpenes brought up in the royal palace. There, Genevas lived with Pharaoh's own children. While he was in Egypt, Hadad heard that David rested with his ancestors and that Joab, the commander of the army, was also dead. Then Hadad said to Pharaoh, Let me go, that I may return to my own country. What have you lacked here that you want to go back to your own country? Pharaoh asked. Nothing, Hadad replied, but to let me go. And God raised up against Solomon another adversary, Rezon of Eliada, who had fled from his master Hadazar, king of Joab, when David destroyed Joab's army. Rezon gathered a band of men around him and became their leader. They went to Damascus, where they settled and took control. Rezon was Israel's adversary as long as Solomon lived, adding to the trouble caused by Hadad. So Rezon ruled in Aram and was hostile toward Israel. Jeroboam rebelled against Solomon. Also, Jeroboam, son of Nebat, rebelled against the king. He was one of Solomon's officials on Abraham from Yeredah, and his mother was a widow named Jeroah. Here is the account of how he rebelled against the king. Solomon had built the terraces and had filled it in the gap in the wall of the city of David, his father. Now Jeroboam was a man of standing, and when Solomon saw how well the young man did his work, he put him in charge of the whole labor forces of the tribes of Joseph. About that time, Jeroboam was going out of Jerusalem, and Ahiah, the prophet of Sihon, met him on the way, wearing a new cloak. The two of them were alone out in the country, and Ahiah took hold of the new cloak he was wearing and tore it into 12 pieces. Then he said to Jeroboam, "Take 10 pieces for yourself, for this is what the Lord, the God of Israel says. See, I am going to tear the kingdom out of Solomon's hand and give you 10 tribes. But for the sake of my servant David and the city of Jerusalem, which I have chosen out of all the tribes of Israel, he will have one tribe. I will do this because they have forsaken me and worshipped Ashtaroth, the goddess of the Sidonians, Chemosh, the god of the Moabites, and Molech, the god of the Ammonites, and have not walked in obedience to me, nor done what is right in my eyes, nor kept my decrees and laws as David, Solomon's father, did. But I will not take the whole kingdom out of Solomon's hand. I have made him ruler all the days of his life for the sake of David, thy servant, whom I chose, and who obeyed my commands and decrees. I will take the kingdom from his son's hand and give you 10 tribes. I give one tribe to his son, so that David my servant may always have a lamb before me in Jerusalem, the city where I chose to my name. However, as for you, I will take you, and you will rule over all that your heart desires. You will be king over Israel. If you do whatever I commanded you, and walk in obedience to me, and do what is right in my eyes by obeying my decrees and commands, as David my servant did, I will be with you. I will build you this dynasty as enduring as the one I built for David, and will give Israel to you. I will humble David's descendants because of this, but not forever." Solomon tried to kill Jeroboam, but Jeroboam fled to Egypt to Sisera the king, and stayed there until Solomon's death. As for the other event of Solomon reigned, all he did and the wisdom he displayed, they are not written in the book of the Annals of Solomon. Solomon reigned in Jerusalem over all Israel 40 years. Then he rested with his ancestors and was buried in the city of David his father, and Rehoboam his son succeeded him as king. First Kings chapter 12. Israel rebels against Rehoboam. Chapter 12. Rehoboam went to Shechem, for all Israel had gone there to make him king. When Jeroboam son of Nebat heard this, he was still in Egypt, where he had fled from King Solomon. He returned from Egypt, so they sent for Jeroboam, and the whole assembly of Israel went to Rehoboam and said to him, "Your father put a heavy yoke on us, but now lighten the harsh labor and the heavy yoke he put on us, and we will serve you." Rehoboam said, "Go away for 3 days, and then come back to me." So the people went away. Then King Rehoboam consulted the elders who had served his father Solomon during his life. "How do you advise me to answer these people?" he asked. They replied, "If today you will be a servant to these people and serve them and give them a favorable answer, they will also be your servants. But Rehoboam rejected the advice the elder gave him and consulted the young man who had grown up with him and was serving him. He asked them, "What is your advice? How should we answer these people who say to me, 'Lighten the yoke your father put on us'?" The young man who had grown up with him replied, "These people have said to you, 'Your father put a heavy yoke on us, but make our yoke lighter.' Now tell them, 'My little finger is thicker than my father's waist. My father laid on you a heavy yoke, I'll make it even heavier. My father scourged you with whips, I'll scourge you with scorpions." 3 days later, Jeroboam and all the people returned to Rehoboam, as the king had said, "Come back to me in 3 days." The king answered the people harshly, rejected the advice given him by the elder. He followed the advice of a young man and said, "My father made your yoke heavy, I will make it even heavier. My father scourged you with whips, I will scourge you with scorpions." So the king did not listen to the people, for this turn of events was from the Lord, to fulfill the word that the Lord has spoken to Jeroboam, son of Nebat, through Aiah the Zionite. When all Israel saw that the king refused to listen to them, they answered the king, "What should we have in David? What part in Isaiah's son? To your tents, Israel, look after your own house, David." So the Israel went home, but as for the Israelites who were living in the towns of Judah, Rehoboam still ruled over them. King Rehoboam sent out of Adoniram, who was in charge of forced labor, but all Israel stoned him to death. King Rehoboam, whoever managed to get into his chariot and escape to Jeroham. So Israel has been in rebellion against the house of David to this day. When all the Israelites heard that Jeroboam had returned, they sent and called him to the assembly and made him king over all Israel. Only the tribe of Judah remained loyal to the house of David. When Rehoboam arrived in Jerusalem, he mustered all Judah and the tribe of Benjamin, 180,000 able young men, to go to war against Israel and to reign the kingdom for Rehoboam son of Solomon. But this word of God came to Shemaiah, the man of God. "Say to Rehoboam son of Solomon, king of Judah, to all Judah and Benjamin, and to the rest of the people, this is what the Lord said: Do not go up to fight against your brothers, the Israel. Go home, every one of you, for this is my doing." So they obeyed the word of the Lord and went home again, as the Lord had ordered. Golden calves at Bethel and Dan. Then Jeroboam fortified Shechem in the hill country of Ephraim and lived there. From there he went out and built up Peniel. Jeroboam thought to himself, "The kingdom will not likely revert to the house of David if these people go up to offer sacrifice at the temple of the Lord in Jerusalem. They will again give their allegiance to their Lord. Rehoboam, king of Judah, they will kill me and return to King Rehoboam." After seeking advice, the king made 2 golden calves. He said to the people, "It is too much for you to go up to Jerusalem. Here are your gods, Israel, who brought you up out of Egypt." One he set up in Bethel and the other in Dan. And these things become a sin. The people came to worship the one at Bethel and went as far as Dan to worship the other. Jeroboam built shrines on high places and appointed priests from all sorts of people, even though they were not Levites. He instituted a festival on the 15th days of the 8th month, like the festival held in Judah, and offered sacrifice on the altar. This he did in Bethel, sacrificing to the calves he had made. And at Bethel, he also installed the priest at the high place he had made. On the 15th day of the 18th month, a month of his choosing, he offered sacrifice on the altar he had built at Bethel. So he instituted the festival for the Israelites and went up to the altar to make offerings. The man of God from Judah, chapter 13. By the word of the Lord, a man of God came from Judah to Bethel, as Jeroboam was standing by the altar to make an offering. By the word of the Lord, he cried out against the altar, 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 this is what the Lord says. A son named Josiah will be born to the house of David. On you he will sacrifice the priest of the high place who make offering here, and the human bones will be burned on you. That same day the man of God gave a sign. This is the sign the Lord has declared. The altar will be split apart and the ashes on it will be poured out. When King Jeroboam heard what the man of God cried out against the altar at Bethel, he stretched out his hand from the altar and said, Seize him! But the hand he stretched out toward the man shriveled up, so that he could not pull it back. Also the altar was split apart and its ashes poured out according to the sign given by the man of God by the word of the world. Then the king said to the man of God, Intercede with the Lord your God and pray for me that my hand may be restored. So the man of God interceded with the Lord, and the king's hand was restored and became as it was before. The king said to the man of God, Come home with me for a meal, and I will give you a gift. But the man of God answered the king, Even if you were to give me half of your possessions, I would not go with you, nor would I eat bread or drink water here. For I was commanded by the word of the Lord, You must not eat bread or drink water, or return by the way you came. So he took another road and did not return by the way he had come to Bethel. Now there was a certain old prophet living in Bethel, whose sons had come and told him all that the man of God had done there that day. They also told their fathers what he had said to the king. Their father asked them, Which way did he go? And his sons told him which road the man of God from Judah had taken. So he said to his sons, Saddle the donkey for me. And when they had saddled the donkey for him, he mounted it and rode after the man of God. He found him sitting under an oak tree and asked, Are you the man of God who came from Judah? I am, replied. So the prophet said to him, Come home with me and eat. The man of God said, I cannot turn back and go with you, nor can I eat bread or drink water with you in the place. I have been told by the word of the Lord, You must not eat bread or drink water there, or return by the way you came. The old prophet answered, I too am a prophet as you are, and an angel said to me by the word of the Lord, Bring him back with you to your house so that he may eat bread and drink water. But he was lying to him. So the man of God returned with him and ate and drank in his house. While they were sitting at the table, the word of the Lord came to the old prophet who had brought him back. He cried out to the man of God who had come from Judah, This is what the Lord says, You have defied the words of the Lord and have not kept the commands the Lord your God gave you. You came back and ate bread and drank water in the place where he told you not to eat to drink. Therefore your body will not be buried in the tomb of your ancestor. When the man of God had finished eating and drinking, the prophet who had brought him back saddled his donkey for him. As he went on his way, a lion met him on the road and killed him, and his body was left lying on the road with both the donkey and the lion standing beside it. Some people who passed by saw the body lying there with the lion standing beside the body, and they went and reported it in the city where the old prophet lived. When the prophet who had brought him back from his journey had observed of it, he said, It is the man of God who defied the word of the Lord. The Lord has given him over to the lion, which he has mauled him and killed him, as the word of the Lord had warned him. The prophet said to his son, Saddle the donkey for me, and they did so. He went out and found the body lying on the road with the donkey and the lion standing beside it. The lion had neither eaten the body nor mauled the donkey. So the prophet picked up the body of the man of God, laid it on the donkey, and brought it back to his own city to mourn for him and bury it. Then he laid the body in his own tomb, and they mourned over him and said, Alas, my brother. After burying him, he said to his son, When I die, bury me in the grave where the man of God is buried. lay my bones beside his bones. For the message he declared by the Lord of the Lord against the altar in Bethel, and against all the shrines on the high place in the towns of Samaria will certainly come true. Even after this, Jeroboam did not change his evil ways, but once more appointed a priest for the high place from all sorts of people. Anyone who wanted to become a priest, he consecrated for the high priest. This was the sin of the house of Jeroboam that led to its downfall and to its destruction from the face of the earth. First King chapter 14, Ahiah's prophecy against Jeroboam. At that time, Abiah, son of Jeroboam, became ill, and Jeroboam said to his wife, "Go disguise yourself, so you won't be reckoned as the wife of Jeroboam. Then go to Shiloh. Ahiah the prophet is there, the one who told me, I would be king over these people. Take 10 loaves of bread with you, some cakes, and a ear of donkey, and go to him. He will tell you what will happen to the body." So Jeroboam's wife did what he said and went to Ahiah's house in Shiloh. Now Ahiah could not see. His sight was gone because of his age, but the Lord had told Ahiah, "Jeroboam's wife is coming to ask you about her son, for he is ill, and you are to give her such and such an answer. When she arrives, she will pretend to be someone else." So when Ahiah heard the sound of her footsteps at the door, he said, "Come in, wife of Jeroboam, why this pretense? I have been sent to you with bad news. Go tell Jeroboam that this is what the Lord, the God of Israel, says. I raised you up from among the people and appointed you ruler over my people Israel. I tore the kingdom away from the house of David and gave it to you. But you have not been like my servant David, who kept my commands and followed me with all his heart, doing only what was right in my eyes. You have done more evil than all who lived before you. You have made for yourself other gods, idols made of metal. You have aroused my anger and returned your backs on me. Because of this, I am going to bring disaster on the house of the Jeroboam. I'll cut off from Jeroboam every last male in Israel. Slave or free, I'll burn up the house of Jeroboam as one burns during until it is all gone. Dogs will eat those who belong to Jeroboam who die in the city, and the birds will feed on those who die in the country the Lord has spoken. As for you, go back home. When you settle in your city, the boy will die. All Israel will mourn for him and bury him. He is the only one belong to Jeroboam who will be buried, because he is the only one in the house of Jeroboam in whom the Lord, the God of Israel, has found anything good. The Lord will raise up for himself a king over Israel who will cut off the family of Jeroboam. Even now this is beginning to happen, and the Lord will strike Israel, so that it will be like a reed sowing in the water. He will uproot Israel from this good and land that he gave to their ancestors and scatter them beyond the Euphrates River, because they aroused the Lord's anger by making Asherah poles. And he will give Israel up because of the sins Jeroboam has committed and has caused Israel to commit. Then Jeroboam's wife got up and left and went to Tirzah. As soon as she stepped over the threshold of the house, the boy died. They buried him, and all Israel mourned for him, as the Lord had said through his servant the prophet Ahiah. The other events of Jeroboam's reign, his wars, and how he ruled, are written in the books of the annals of the kings of Israel. He reigned for 22 years and then rested with his instead, and Nadab his son succeeded him as king. Rehoboam, king of Judah. Rehoboam, son of Solomon, was king in Judah. He was 41 years old when he became king, and he reigned 17 years in Jerusalem, the city the Lord had chosen out of all the tribes of Israel. You need to put his name. His mother's name was Naamah. She was an Ammonite. Judah did evil in the eyes of the Lord by the sins they committed. They stirred up his jealous anger more than those who were before them had done. They also set up to for themselves high places, sacred stones, and Asherah poles on every high hill and under every spreading tree. There was even males shrine prostitute in the land. The people engaged in all the detestable practices of the nations the Lord had driven out before the Israelites. In the 15th years of King Rehoboam, Shilach, king of Egypt, attacked Jerusalem. He carried off the treasure of the temple of the Lord, had the treasure of the royal palace. He took everything, including all the gold shields Solomon had made. So King Rehoboam made bronze shields to replace them and assigned these to the commanders of the guard on duty at the entrance to the royal palace. Whenever the king went to the Lord's temple, the guards bore the shields, and afterward they returned them to the guard room. As for the other events of Rehoboam's reign, all he did, they are not written in the book of the annals of the king of Judah. There was a continual warfare between Rehoboam and Jeroboam, and Rehoboam rested with his ancestors and was buried with them in the city of David. His mother's name was Naamah. She was an Ammonite, and Abiah, his son, succeeded him as kings. Abiah, king of Judah, chapter 15. In the 18th years of the reign of Jeroboam, son of Nebat, Abiah became a king of Judah, and he reigned in Jerusalem 3 years. His mother's name was Maacah, daughter of Abisalom. He committed all the sins his fathers had done before him. His heart was not fully devoted to the Lord his father, and the heart of David his father had been. Nevertheless, for David's sake, the Lord his God gave him a lamb in Jerusalem by raising up a son to succeed him and by making Jerusalem strong. For David had done what was right in the eyes of the Lord, and had not failed to keep any of the Lord's commands all the day of his life, except in the case of Uriah the Hittite. There was war between Abiah and Jeroboam throughout Abiah's lifetime. As for the other events of Abiah's reign, and all he did, they are not written in the book of the annals of the kings of Judah. There was war between Abiah and Jeroboam, and Abiah rested with the ancestors and was buried in the city of David, and Asa his son succeeded him as king. Asa, king of Judah. In the 20th years of Jeroboam, king of Israel, Asa became king of Judah, and he reigned in Jerusalem 41 years. His grandmother's name was Maacah, daughter of Abisalom. Asa did what was right in the eyes of the Lord, as his father David had done. He expelled the male shrine prostitute from the land and got rid of all the idols his ancestors had made. He even disposed his grandmother Maacah from her positions as king mother, because she had made a repulsive image for the worship of Asherah. Asa cut it down and burned it in the Kidron Valley. Although he did not remove the high place, Asa's heart was fully committed to the Lord all his life. He brought into the temple of the Lord the silver and gold and the article that he and his father had dedicated. There was a war between Asa and Baasha, king of Israel, throughout their reigns. Baasha, king of Israel, went up against Judah and fortified Ramah to prevent anyone from leaving on entering the territory of Asa, king of Judah. Asa then took all the silver and gold that was left in the treasury of the Lord's temple and of his own palace. He entrusted it to his officials and sent them to the Ben-Hadad, son of Tabrimon, the son of Hezion, the king of Araman, who was ruling in Damascus. Let there be a treaty between me and you, he said, as there was between my father and your father. See, I am sending you a gift of silver and gold. Now break your treaty with Baasha, king of Israel, so he will withdraw from me. Ben-Hadad agreed with King Asa and sent the commanders of his forces against the town of Israel. He conquered Lizon, Dan, Abel, Beth Maacah, and all Kinnereth in addition to Naphtali. When Baasa heard this, he stopped building Raman and withdrew to Tirzah. Then King Asa issued an order to all Judah. No one was exempt, and they carried out away from Ramah the stones and timber Baasa had been using there. With them, King Asa built a Geba in Benjamin, and also Mizpah. As for all the other events of Asa's reign, all his achievements, all he did, the cities he built, they are not written in the book of the annals of the kings of Judah. In his old days, however, his feet became diseased. Then Asa rested with his ancestors and was buried with them in the city of his fathers David. And Jehoshaphat, his son, succeeded him as king. Nadab, king of Israel. Nadab, son of Jeroboam, became king of Israel in the second year of Asa, king of Judah. And he reigned over Israel 2 years. He did evil in the eyes of the Lord, following the ways of his father and committing the same sin his father had caused Israel to commit. Baasa, son of Ahiah, from the tribes of Issachar, plotted against him, and he struck him down at Gibeton, a Philistine town, while Nadab and all Israel were besieging it. Baasa killed Nadab in the 3rd years of Asa, king of Judah, and succeeded him as king. As soon as he began to reign, he killed Jeroboam's whole family. He did not leave Jeroboam anyone dead, priests, but destroyed them all, according to the word of the Lord given through his servant Ahiah the Silonite. This happened because of the sins Jeroboam had committed and had caused Israel to commit, and because the aroused the anger of the Lord, the God of Israel. As for the other event of Nadab's reign and all he did, they are not written in the book of the annals of the kings of Israel. There was war between Asa and Baasa, king of Israel, throughout their reigns. Baasa, king of Israel. In the 3rd years of Asa, king of Judah, Baasa, son of Ahiah, became king of all Israel in Tirzah, and he reigned 24 years. He did evil in the eyes of the Lord, following the ways of Jeroboam and committing the same sin Jeroboam and caused Israel to commit. Chapter 16. Then the word of the Lord came to Jehu, son of Hanai, concerning Baasa. I lift you up from the dust and appoint you a ruler over my people Israel. When you follow the ways of Jeroboam and cause my people Israel to sin and to arouse my anger by their sin. So I am about to wipe out Baasa and his house, and I will make your house like that of Jeroboam, son of Nebat. Dogs will eat those belonging to Baasa who die in the city, and birds will feed on those who die in the country. As for the other event of Baasa's reign, what he did and his achievement they are not written in the book of the annals of the king of Israel. Baasa rested with his ancestors and was buried in Tirzah, and Elah his son succeeded him as king. Moreover, the word of the Lord came through the prophet Jehu, son of Hanai, to Baasa and his house, because of all the evil he had done in the eyes of the Lord, arousing his anger by the things he did, becoming like the house of Jeroboam, and also because he destroyed it. Elah, king of Israel. In the 26 years of Asa, king of Judah, Elah, son of Baasa, became king of Israel, and he reigned in Tirzah 2 years. Zimri, one of his officials who had command of half his chariot, plotted against him. Elah was in Tirzah at the time, getting drunk in the home of Arazah, the palace administrator in Tirzah. Zimri came in, struck him down, and killed him in the 27th years of Asa, king of Judah. Then he succeeded him as king. As soon as he began to reign and was seated on the throne, he killed Baasa's whole family. He did not spare a single male, whether relative or friend. So Zimri destroyed the whole family of Baasa in accordance with the word of the Lord spoken against Baasa through the prophet Jehu. Because of of all the sins Baasa and his son Ella had committed and caused Israel to commit, so they aroused the anger of the Lord, the God of Israel, by their worthless idols. As for the other event of Ella's reign and all he did, are they not written in the book of the annals of the king of Israel? Zimri, king of Israel. In the 27th years of Asa, king of Judah, Zimri reigned in Tirzah 7 days. The army was encamped near Gibeton, a Philistine town. When the Israelites in the camp heard that Zimri had plotted against the king and murdered him, they proclaimed Omni, the commander of the army, king of Israel, that very day there in the camp. Then Omni had and all the Israelites with him withdrew from Gibeton and laid siege to Tirzah. When Zimri saw that the city was taken, he went into the citadel of the royal palace and set the place on fire around him. So he died because of the sins he had committed, doing evil in the eyes of the Lord and following the ways of the Jeroboam and committing the same sin Jeroboam had caused Israel to commit. As for the other event of Zimri's reign and the rebellion he carried out, are they not written in the book of the annals of the kings of Israel? Only king of Israel, then the people of Israel who was split into two fractions, half supported Tibni, son of Ginas, for king, and the other half supported Omni. But Omni followers providing stronger than those of Timni, son of Ginas. So Timni died and Omni became king. In the 31st years of Asa, king of Judah, Omni became king of Israel, and he reigned 12 years. 6 of them in Tirzah. He bought the kill of Samaria from Shemer for 2 talents of silver and built a city on the hill, calling it Samaria after Shemer, the name of the former owner of the hill. But Omni did evil in the eyes of the Lord and sinned more than all those before him. He followed completely the ways of Jeroboam, son of Nebat, committing the same sin Jeroboam had caused Israel to commit, so that they aroused the anger of the Lord, the God of Israel, by their worthless idols. As for the other events of Omni's reign, what he did and the things he achieved, are they not written in the book of the annals of the kings of Israel? Omni rested with his ancestor and was buried in Samaria, and Ahab, his son, succeeded him as king. Ahab becomes king of Israel in the 38th years of Asa, kings of Judah. Ahab, son of Omni, became king of Israel. And he reigned in Samaria and Israel 2 years. Ahab, son of Omni, did more evil in the eyes of the Lord than any of those before him. He not only considered it trivial to commit the sins of Jeroboam, son of Nebat, but he also married Isabel, daughter of Ethbaal, king of the Sidonians, and began to serve Baal and worship him. He set up an altar for Baal in the temple of Baal that he built in Samaria. Ahab also made an Asherah pole and did more to arouse the anger of the Lord, the God of Israel, than all the kings of Israel before him. In Ahab's time, hill of Bethel rebuilt Jericho. He laid its foundation at the cost of his firstborn son Abiram, and he set up its gates at the cost of his youngest son Shechem, in accordance with the word of the Lord spoken by Joshua, son of Nun. Amen.